Good morning, this is Cynthia and I'm coming to you once again via video because I am unfortunately stuck at home with a sick kid. However, this ELPA21 information is really important because the test is coming up soon and it's going to affect all of us, and so I wanted to make sure that you got the information today. Some of you might be asking, what is the ELPA21? And for those of you who have been teaching for a while, one way to say it would be that it's the new WELPA. So it is the annual state test that measures the progress of ELL students both at Mount View and across the state, and it also determines which students have gained enough English proficiency to exit formal ELL services. Now in Highline, especially at the elementary level, because our ELL students are generally mainstreamed and in our sheltered mainstream classrooms, this doesn't matter so much. Their program doesn't look much different depending on whether they qualify or not, but nevertheless, those are the things that the test determines. The test, just like the WELPA, will have 4 subtests: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And the primary grades, those tests are relatively short. For 4th through 6th, the reading and writing tests in particular are quite lengthy, so we'll be talking a little bit more about time on another slide, but just some basic information. This test is given K through 12 throughout the state, as I said, and this year it is going to be entirely computerized, and it's going to be using the same test interface as the SBAC. Now obviously, based on what I just said, this is a K through 12 test. This is going to be a challenge for some of our kindergartners and first graders who are going to be taking a high-stakes test on a computer, but we'll talk about that as well. So just for a little historical perspective, I have data only for the 3 years since I've been here. I don't know what it looked like before 2012, but as you can see, things are looking pretty good. So there are 3 indicators that we look at on the WELPA. One is student growth, or how many students are making growth. One is how many students are exiting, and I honestly can't remember what the third one is, but the 2 that I have here are growth, and so you can see 2012-13 we were somewhere just over 60% of students were making growth in their English proficiency, and then the following year about 75-76%, and then this past year we were just at 80% of students making growth. So a really nice progression there that we want to keep going. We want to keep going in that direction for this next year. In terms of students exiting, the first year I was here, it was only about 4%, and then the following year is about 9%. Last year we had 15% of our students exit. Both of those numbers for last year, both the growth number and the exit number, are well over what the state expects from schools, or what the state's goal was. So I attribute this to a couple of things. One, I think, is dual language has rolled up to more grades. It has been able to really help more kids gain English fluency because it's such a strong model for teaching English. Second, I think that the work that all of you are doing in your classrooms to make input comprehensible, to scaffold your instruction, to scaffold assignments for students, all of the work that we've been working on together, I think you can see here that it's really having an effect, so keep that up. All right, getting into the logistics for 2015-16, John and I will be coordinating, and we will be testing, during this testing window, about 350 students from K to 6. So this test is just as big in terms of impact as the SBAC. This is about half our school that will be tested. This will be all of our students who qualify for ELL, plus when you get your lists of students, you may notice a few and wonder why they're included on the list, because they don't, or English is their first language, and that's probably because they qualify under the Title III program, which means they have some sort of Native American designation, and so the ELPA21 is the same assessment used to determine their progress. Tests will be completed in either 2 or 3 days of a single week. So like I said, for the primary grades that have shorter tests, I combined 2 tests on 1 day, so they were able to finish in 2 days. For the intermediate grades, I separated out a little more, which is why it's taking 3 days. And makeups will generally happen that same week. So as I said, this is a big test. Everyone is going to be affected by it. And so the week that your grade tests, you will either be proctoring a test or supervising students who don't need to take the test. Here's a draft schedule. I emphasize the word draft, with the week or the days that you're going to be testing. If you see any major problems with this schedule, some reason why those dates are not going to work for you, please let me know as soon as possible today. As you know, I'm not in, so you'll have to email me. Most of the tests are happening on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with the exception of 6th and 5th grade. There's a holiday Monday, Tuesday, so you are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then kindergarten, we're going to need so many proctors to help out that I changed the dates to be on the dates when the interns are here, which is Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So this is my last slide. We need your help. The biggest way that we need your help is in flexibility. As I said, this is going to impact all of us. So one is that we're going to need to be using Chromebook carts and taking them from you so that students can be taking this assessment. Later today, you will receive a schedule that will show exactly when those Chromebooks will be pulled. And one thing to note here is that if students in your pod are taking the ELPA21, you probably wouldn't be able to use the Chromebooks anyway, because with so many students logging onto the system, we need the system, or those access points, those internet access points, entirely cleared for the test takers. Second is with paras. This test requires an amazingly high number of proctors, proctor to student ratio, and so we're going to be pulling not only bilingual paras, but some weeks for kindergarten and first grade we'll need to use the regular paras as well, just to make sure that all of our students are successful. Third, practice tests. As I mentioned, taking a high stakes test on a computer is going to be a challenge for all of our students, but especially for kindergarten and first graders who are not used to these kinds of things like dragging and dropping, or selecting the next answer, or selecting an answer, things like that. The state just put out a practice test. I'm going to send you a link, and it is really, really important that your students go through this practice test just so they get some experience with the kinds of things they're going to be asked to do on the real test. I am happy to come and help facilitate the giving of that practice test, so be in touch with me, but I will send you the link today and take some time to check it out. Next is read and respond to emails. I will try to keep the number of emails regarding the test as low as possible and just pack as much information into them as possible, but I will not send one out with useless information. So please make sure you're reading them so that you are staying up to date on everything that needs to happen. And finally, as I mentioned, I'll send out the schedule later today. If you are assigned as a proctor, you will need to attend a proctor training. Now, the one at Mount View is scheduled for next Thursday on the 21st after school. However, there are going to be proctor trainings happening all over the district. And so if that date doesn't work for you, you can choose one of the other ones. So be watching your email later today for the schedule, for student lists that will tell you who needs to take the test, and you're going to be asked to do some things with that student list, for the link for the practice test, and then for the list of proctor trainings around the district. Thank you so much for your attention, and I am excited to see that bar graph keep going up.